2025年9月28號，香港雨傘運動11週年，在英港人組織集會同埋大遊行紀念，同時第6次示威抗議中國駐倫敦超級大使館規劃申請。集會人士先喺香港駐倫敦經貿辦集會。
Not in London, not today. Free all political prisoners.
之後過千人冒雨出發，經唐人街、Trafalgar Square 換步遊行到白廳舉行集會。
I do study social movements, but also, just 5 years ago, Thailand went through a very similar kind of protest movement as in Hong Kong. So there was some sort of connection, and it's kind of good to see kind of remembering of what's going on in the past, right? Because at least in my country, we don't really have this thing of doing anniversaries. So yeah, it's something I wanted to see, and of course I support the causes. Yeah.
Today we were talking about the super magazine or mega embassy in London.
Right.
So what do you make of it?
I actually didn't know much about it, so I guess it's I just got a pamphlet, and it's a good place to kind of learn as well. And I think that's part of social movement or protest, that you can actually learn something new politically. So yeah, I think I'll definitely need more time to look into it, but it seems that people are saying that it's something unnecessary since the PRC already has an embassy. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you're supporting Hong Kong community?
Yeah. Fight for freedom, democracy, as in many other places.
我哋係希望要話俾英國嘅政府聽同埋人民聽，我哋係唔需要呢度有一個 China Mega Embassy 嘅，同埋因為我哋喺香港仲有好多朋友，好多人喺度受緊苦，所以我哋希望喺度為佢哋發聲，唔應該受到任何嘅威脅同埋任何嘅恐懼。其實喺11年前嘅雨傘運動嘅時候，我可以好自由、好安全咁樣去到金鐘支持啲學生，咁冇人會擔心安全。但係我啱今年暑假返香港嘅時候，其實香港一啲痕跡都冇晒。任何人再講任何關於政府或者中國唔好嘅説話，都會被恐懼，都係充滿住驚惶。所以11年後係估唔到情況可以變得咁惡劣。如果我哋嚟到英國嘅香港人都唔出聲，我唔知11年後我哋會變成點樣，全世界可能都唔可以再出聲。
我覺得呢個都係出嚟嘅原因其中一個咯，即係 remind 翻啲香港人，其實我哋都仲有人喺度支持緊，咁多年前發生嘅事我哋仲記得啦，同埋趁而家仲可以有呢啲遊行咁，即係點解唔出嚟呢？咁記住翻嗰陣個初衷咯，我覺得。
我哋覺得我覺得呢個民主社會起碼係我哋覺得唔妥嘅地方可以出聲。喺香港任何唔妥嘅嘢已經唔可以出聲，所以我哋作為有責任同埋有能力、有機會嘅時候，一定要出嚟行、出嚟發聲。
我覺得香港人諗下自己係，即係我哋嚟咗幾年啦都，咁諗下自己呢個定位啦。即係有啲人仲係喺香港人嘅角度出發，咁可能佢哋諗嘅嘢會唔同。咁但係有啲人我識，即係已經覺得開始以一個英國人嘅出發點去諗嘢，咁有可能唔同咯。我覺得兩樣冇話邊樣啱，但係香港人要開始諗呢個定位嘅問題咯，即係喺開始明白點解 local 會咁諗啦，點解香港人會咁諗啦。咁喺多角度諗翻呢啲問題，其實都係我哋當初好想做到，即係 critical thinking 呢樣嘢啫嘛。
咁啱係9月28號啦，即係11週年，2014年嘅11週年啦。咁同埋今日就仲係要可能係最後一次機會反對呢個中國大使館嘅建設啦。即係佢呢個 scheme 本嚟就已經取消咗喺之前 Tories 嘅時候，但係而家呢個咁樣嘅工黨一見完集之後就話好，我哋又嚟過啦咁，所以搞到我哋咁忙咯。今次已經第幾次啦？
而家即係
第6次啦，係咯。你諗下佢6億英鎊都貪，但係美國Trump 一嚟就1500億啦，咁你真係玩咩？6億同1500億，仲要嗰6億就分5年喎，嗰5年分完之後，一條元朗行人天橋都起唔到嘅，我計過條數啦。
遊行全程和平，去到唐人街，唔少遊行人士都覺得氣氛緊張，唔少途人、遊客圍觀，包括唐餐館內外嘅人。
一入呢條街， 唐人街好火滾嘅喎，好嬲嘅喎。我嚟咗倫敦5年咯，入咗唔夠5次，我唔想入啊，但係冇辦法啦，今次盡第一步。
今日主要係反對佢哋起呢個超級大使館啦。講就講話超級大使館啊，實際上我哋係認為係一個海外軍事基地多過係一個大使館嘅。唔單止係入邊啲內部啦，仲有好多其他因素啦。綜合嚟講咧，就係即係唔可以俾佢哋起呢一棟咁嘅嘢啦。同埋依家英國大家都知道，我哋有 PM 係個態度咧係好牆頭草同埋好疲弱嘅，即係無論係對華政策又好，定係對於一啲非法活動都好啦，咁都係處理都係好有問題嘅。所以我會咁講啦，今次呢個咁嘅活動，除咗係抗議中共之外啦，你見到都有好多英國旗啊，其實都係反映出一個訊息，就係話即係我哋香港人係會同英國係會企埋一齊嘅。
唔少參與者自發向途人派單張以及講解。
Hong Kong is not China. Hong Kong is not China.
期間有大批警力部署，去到 Trafalgar Square， 遊行隊伍整合之後，再前往白廳。
Bow to China! Bow to China! Fight for freedom!
Stand with Hong Kong!
Freedom!
Stand with Hong Kong!
At the moment is very scary because the Chinese government are chasing Hong Kongers and with their secret police in the UK, and that I am scared about them having even more secret police with more staff in the UK. The government anyway is doing really bad thing in having any business with China, so they need to stop doing trade with China for starters. I think that's the most important thing they need to do is and then throw out the Chinese embassy from Britain on the grounds of they're committing genocide against the Uyghurs and the oppression of Hong Kong people and the occupation of Hong Kong by China.
About the Mega Embassy issue, do you think British people are full of awareness?
No, I don't think so, because the newspapers are not covering it enough. I don't think people are aware of the danger of China colonization of a lot of the world through business. But that's the difference between British colonization and Chinese colonization. China's colonization is done more cleverly, and people don't see it.
Not in London, not today. And I want to express my tribute and my salute to the tens of thousands, maybe including many of you here.
We commemorate the 11th anniversary of the Umbrella Movement. These anniversaries should always be remembered, both to honour those who took part in them, those who have been in prison for many years since then, but also as a reminder and an inspiration for all of us to continue the struggle for freedom and democracy and human rights. But there are, as you say, many other issues. We're speaking here today about the proposed mega embassy that China wants to set up in the old Royal Mint. This is the 6th time there has been a protest against this, and we're continuing to call on the British government to turn down China's proposed new embassy in that building. Of course, China needs to have an embassy in the UK, and they can find another site, but that particular site is not appropriate, and we will go on demanding that the government reject it. It feels to me like the government really doesn't want to make a decision, because it knows whichever decision it makes, it will upset somebody. I think the Trump administration and also the US Congress have repeatedly made clear their concerns about this embassy, and obviously our relationship with the US, particularly in terms of sharing intelligence, is very important. And if the US is concerned about our national security as a result of this proposed embassy, that's something the British government should take very seriously. I think also the development of redacting some of the details on its plans is very significant, and they refuse to provide information on what some of those rooms will be used for. And also a senior British planning lawyer has said that the plans may well be illegal. So those are all factors that I think the government hopefully is weighing up, and I hope they will make the right decision. I don't know what decision the government will make. I certainly wouldn't want to assume that they will do the right thing, and that's why this demonstration today is very important.
唔少人關注工黨政府未澄清承諾 BNO 簽證條款不變，以及 Reform UK 最近香港人冇例外嘅言論。
係，我都唔擔心啊！呢個即係因為英國咧係個傳統係個普通法咧，即係佢係好難先至可以做得到要我追訴權啊！即係佢而家早前 Nigel Farage 就話想連你哋已經攞到嘅人都要攞唔到，咁我覺得呢個係即係可能係好似談判咁樣嘅策略，即係開大口先啦。佢而家2日就已經轉咗軚啦，即係佢都發現。開口及着嚟啦，咁即係佢慢慢會再調節嘅。其實我覺得唔需要咁快跟車太貼嘅。
Reform UK 方面，我自己睇完啲新聞之後啦，我聽佢嗰個講法都係有啲長頭草嘅，就講真嗰句。因為你見到佢就喺講完之後，我諗佢哋肯定有睇 comment 㗎啦。第二日就即刻轉軚啦，第二日即刻話其實唔包括香港人㗎咁樣。咁但係你前一日唔係咁講㗎喎。咁講真嗰句，即係大家都知道佢哋咩事啊。咁其實睇翻Reform UK 嗰個leader， 即係最大粒嗰個發言人啦，法拉奇嘅話，你睇翻佢講嘅嘢同埋佢之前嘅主張咧，其實我唔會話佢係一個企得好硬嘅人咯。講真嗰句，因為如果你話有啲咩 suggestion 嘅話咧。UKIP 嗰就係唔錯，但係 Reform 嗰日真係要觀望啦，講真一句。但係話 UKIP 啊、Tommy 啊嗰啲嘅話，你見到佢哋真係愛國者嚟啊，同埋睇翻13號嗰日咧，其實唔淨止話得英國人㗎，即係13號嗰日9月13號嗰日俾啲好多媒體塑造到話係 far right 定點啊，但係其實嗰一日唔淨止得英國人啦，有日本啦，有韓國啦，亦都有香港人喺入邊嘅。咁喺入邊所有人大家都話啦，你喺得嗰度。你舉得起支英國旗嘅話，大家就係 brother。
I think it's a very concerning and unfortunate situation because the British government in 2020 made very clear promises to Hong Kong BNOs that if they hold a BNO passport, they could come to this country. They would be on a pathway to citizenship after 5 years plus 1 year. And many thousands, hundreds of thousands of Hong Kongers have come here based on that promise. And if we were to change that promise now, whether that's to abolish indefinite leave to remain, which is what Reform have proposed, or whether it's to raise the level from 5 years to 10 years, as the government seems to be proposing, both of those are unacceptable. Neither the government nor Reform have been clear whether the Hong Kong BNOs will be exempt from their plans. I did see an interview with Nigel Farage after his initial statement where he subsequently said the Hong Kong BNO is a separate scheme and would not be affected, but I'd like him to be a lot clearer on that, and I'd like the government to stick to the 5+1. Well, I think if there is enough parliamentary support for the existing scheme, particularly from the Labour side and also from the opposition parties, then hopefully the government will feel the pressure and will come out clearly maintaining the status quo arrangement. But Labour MPs need to express that strongly, and I hope they will.
So the BNO issue is also a big issue because people have fled Hong Kong because of the oppressive regime. So I mean, it's actually they should give full British passports to all Hong Kong people, as Portugal did to all Macau people. So it should be very simple.